alumni, our previous A1 student, Tyler Marzella. And, he's working in a place that you can't even get DSL. Yeah, he called up to get, internet connection. Well, what's your address? He gave him the street address. Well, what city is that associated with? And he said Venus, which is funny in itself. We definitely don't put DSL to Venus. No, the town. No, we don't do that either. So he's working on a wireless hotspot on his phone. Neither the company address nor his home address have connection. I'm like, dang. So you come from the university where you connected 10 ways to Sunday, and you get out there. He said, so I go to bed about 7:30 every night. Of course, he gets up about 4:30. So. Well, country hours. It's different hours. Yeah. So.
Dr. Porter?
Yeah.
When you have a nameplate that's less than the 8.75
right.
kilowatts,
for a range?
Yeah, for a range.
Yeah.
What do you actually do?
Don't they have a minimum of 8 kW? If you read that carefully, let me see if I can find that.
So if you have less than 8?
I know. The way it's written, you've got a gap in there. It appears that you have a gap, but I think anything less than that certain amount is 8 kW.
So you just assume 8?
Yeah.
And then what do you do from there? With the demand factor being 80%, you just multiply the 8 kilowatts times 80% of, basically?
Yeah, I'm going to have to look at that. I'm not quite sure on the range that. Yeah, let's see if I can find that.
Somewhere, it's number 2A.
Yeah, but I'm trying to find the explanation for the, yeah, here we go. Okay. No, I had that wrong.
Okay.
Nameplate rating up to 8.7 kW, the demand factor is 80%.
Yeah.
So whatever you have is 80% of that.
So you just take 7.5 times 80%.
Yeah.
And then convert it into watts.
And then
full amps.
Yeah, that's it. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, that's what I did, but I wasn't sure if that was right.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, let's get started. We're going to go through one of these examples here because you've got two things you're working on. One is to lay out a house properly with electrical wiring so that you can actually bring service to every room that needs it, a proper service. The other is to figure out how big your panel is, or the service, sizing the service for a house or a building or a business. So you have to kind of, have two things in mind when you're doing that. So, when you look at service to a residence, you've got general lighting and required or specifically required circuits. And again, what are the required circuits we have? You have lighting and convenience, then you have your appliances and your specialty stuff, and embedded in there you have required circuits, and they are 20 amp required circuits. Bathroom, there's one. Okay, we got 1 for 4.
Laundry.
Laundry, 2 for 4.
Kitchen.
Who in the kitchen? All right, there we go. So there's 4 things you'll never remember. No, never forget. Right. 1 in the laundry room, 1 in the bathroom, 2 in the kitchen. If you have 2 bathrooms, don't forget another one in the other bathroom. I mean, really. I mean, it's a simple thing. Well, there's 4. Only if you have 1 bathroom. If you have 2 bathrooms, there's 5. Okay? So, again, watch the numbers on that. So we have general lighting and required circuits. as our first main category. And then if you have it, you have electric range. What do you mean if you have it?
Yeah. Oh, gas stove.
Right, there you go. Aren't you gonna cook in your house? Maybe yes, maybe no. Right. Actually, yes, I'm going to cook, but some people have propane or propane accessories, or natural gas for stoves. And if you want to be a real cooking snob, you're going to say, well, gas is better. That's what all the professionals use. You know, what's really interesting is you buy, you get into the cooking shows and you get into that kind of stuff and say, I'm going to redo the kitchen. Well, what are you going to put in for range? Well, I'm going to bring gas service in. I'm going to bring a Viking natural gas stove in. Top of the line, you know, how looks spit. So you put that thing in. So what comes with a big fancy gas range stove, everything? A hood. Bingo. Ashley's awake this morning, hitting on all cylinders. So what's the big deal about the hood?
It requires
No, what?
requires an electrical service.
Right, it requires electric service, right, absolutely. But what does it do?
It vents.
It vents, right, and how big are they?
Huge.
They're huge. Huge is a nice quantifiable number. In my book, it can mean, for the big ones, 1,200 CFM. Huge is 1,200 CFM. Now, roughly speaking, you have 400 CFM per ton of air conditioning. I have a house with 3 tons of air conditioning because I made a nice efficient house. I put insulation in the attic. I got nice windows, so I got a 3-ton air conditioner. So I've got an air conditioning system with 1,200 CFM, and I put my new kitchen in. I put the range hood in. I put 1,200 CFM a range hood in there. It's as big as my air handler. Now, I want to make things more interesting. I got natural gas in my house because that's what's run the stove, right? What else do I run on natural gas?
Refrigerator.
Water heater.
Refrigerator, you can't, yeah. Water heater. Where's the water heater?
Garage.
Maybe,
No.
maybe not. What if it's in the house and it's a natural draft gas water heater? And I turn on the range hood. Oh no, Eric says.
Sucks it out.
I backdraft the natural gas water heater. And you can tell that because the little base where the air goes in, where the flame is at the bottom, you can see scorch marks. Black soot scorch marks around that. You walk in the house, you look at the water heater and go, black scorch marks. You walk in and say, you redid the kitchen. Anybody have the flu recently? Well, yeah, we all got it. What do you mean you all got it? Well, the whole family. All at once, one night? Well, what's the likelihood of that? All in one night. What are the symptoms? Oh, achy joints, headache, scratchy throat, carbon monoxide poisoning. You almost all died. Wait a minute, I just redid the kitchen. What do you mean I almost killed myself? Yep. Happens every year. If it was a tornado, it'd be natural. It'd be front page news in the whole nation. Between 15 and 20 people in Florida die of carbon monoxide poisoning every year. They happen in 2s and 3s. How about the hotel a couple years ago? A bunch of guys take a vacation, spring break or something like that. They're all going to have a good time somewhere. And they get into a hotel room that's over the parking garage, and they've got something going down there that's not vented properly, and they all die of carbon monoxide in a hotel in Florida. Oh, it's just an accident. No, it wasn't an accident, you dumb putzes. You killed them. You know? So, watch what you build, watch what you operate, watch how systems integrate together. It's all a systems issue here. So, when you say, I'm going to size it for the electric range, okay, I don't need the electricity in there for that. I'm going to build a house and I have it in a kind of a urban, rural environment, and I put in natural gas. What should I think about doing when I build a house in the first place?
Go ahead and put in a 220.
Bingo. Put in the 220 in the first place. Somebody's going to change down the road. Yeah, somebody's going to change down the road. And adding that after the fact will, you know, you would save a bunch of money if you did it on the same time. Yeah. So watch how you put systems together. Okay, an electric range, what else do we have that's big? Heating and air conditioning. Heating and AC. Large stuff. And 4, we have other appliances. other appliances are things like water heaters, dishwashers, garbage disposals, refrigerators, things of that nature, water pumps, sump pumps. Sump pumps, that's an interesting one, especially if you live up north. You have a sump pump in the basement, pumps out the water table that drains, that's underneath your basement all the time, and if you don't have that pump going, what happens to your basement?
Well,
Fills up full of water. So what happens when you have something like Hurricane Sandy that comes in up there and knocks down all the power lines? Problem.
basement floods.
Yeah, your basement floods. Yeah, simple as that, your basement floods. So, you know, you have to think of these things. Or what happens if you have a tsunami that washes away the fuel tanks for your backup diesel generators? Well, then the cooling water for your reactors stops and your reactors melt. Simple, you know, happens every time, you know? Every time, you can guarantee that. So watch your backup systems on this. So other appliances. Now, when you get into sizing these services, and this is where things are going to change, and they are changing right now. But right now, specifically on the code that was developed when this textbook was written, we use for general lighting and basically for general lighting, you use 32 volt amps per meter squared, or 3 volt amps per foot squared. It's a way of just saying, for lighting, I'll design lighting circuits to have 3 watts per square foot. Now, think about that. If I put LEDs in there, I could put in 0.6 watts per square foot. Big difference. So we haven't swallowed that change yet in the way we write our codes. Because somebody could come back in and put the other lights in there, and you want your circuitry and your system to be able to handle it. So that's the difference on that. And I'll erase that before we go much further. Here we go. So, I want to make sure I get these numbers right here, because sometimes I write things down wrong. For our general lighting and required circuits, the first 3,000 volt amps, 100%. Why do they have things that are staged like that? They're basically telling you that at the start of something, when you're adding up, trying to figure out what kind of service to bring to a building, at some level you want to cover everything. The lowest possible design on a building, you want to make sure you can handle it. So they say the first 3,000 volt amps for lighting and required circuits, you're going to count 100%. Okay, that's fair enough. Now, for 3,000 volt amps to 120,000 volt amps, it's 35%. Well, that's a jump, isn't it? And if you go over 120,000 volt amps, it's 25% of that remainder. Over. Now, why do you bring that up? Why am I crazy like this? Born that way. But anyway, here in town a few years back, we had a extreme makeover. A house up in the northeast part of town. It was a musical family that did percussion camp for a bunch of kids, underserved kids, and they had a house that really wasn't suited for it, so extreme makeover came in and did a beautiful job on that. They had a huge big music room, scissor truss on the ceiling, so it looked real nice. And so what did they put in the vaulted ceiling on both sides for that room? About 100 incandescent lights. 100. I knew the GRU person that helped them do that, the changes and the code changes for the house on that, and her words of description were peppered with some very colorful language. Because think about a long room with a vaulted ceiling that you could put tall things in and put lights on both sides of the ceiling that are incandescent and very, very hot. That's a paint drying tunnel, you know, where you put in big things and dry it real quick. But no, this was somebody's house. So you think about situations like that, they probably ran into these 100,000